Hello, my Bill 1000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. All right, we are back with another Lazy Masquerade. That's right, Lazy Masquerade. This one is titled Four Shocking, Disturbing Mysteries Solved at Last. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I'm excited. Let's get into this story. Go ahead, turn the mics down low, put on something comfy, cup with something special. Let's get a little bit of resolution in our lives. Because solve that last. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The best things happen in the dark. I don't know. Pretty fun
And
things
below.
happen in the light too.
It's rare to catch footage of a serial killer in action. They're usually the methodical type. But that's exactly what happened in this first mystery, which was solved thanks to a CCTV camera. Between 2009 and 2010, a serial killer plagued the streets of Bradford, England. During his year-long spree, he took the lives of 3 women. His weapon of choice? A crossbow. But for this
A crossbow? Do you think he was like a vampire hunter or something? Was he like running through there Van Helsing style? Like, I don't, I just picture like some creepy dude with a big old bushy beard, like leatherish, maybe cowboy style hat, trench coat, crossbow. Just what?
depraved individual, killing his victim,
He sounds pretty fucked up. Really does.
wasn't quite enough. He had to consume parts of them as well, leading to the media dubbing him the crossbow cannibal.
What's with people eating people? We just did a video Thursday because it was Coffee House Crime. He was doing his update video. Dude ate intimate parts of someone. And I was like, what? Fur burger.
He was first brought to the police's attention when 2 prostitutes in the local area disappeared. They were suspected to have been murdered. Initially, the authorities were left stumped. There was an eccentric man around town called Stephen Griffiths. He was known to frequent the prostitutes. What was so eccentric about him?
He's got a shifty face, and I don't like his Milli Vanilli hairstyle.
He used to take his pet lizard for walks around town on a leash, wearing a long...
Dude looks like a creeper, though. I mean, look at him. I hate to judge a book by its cover, but his cover's creepy.
leather coat and sunglasses, regardless of the weather. Sure, he was very different, but nobody thought he was dangerous. By all accounts,
He looks slightly dangerous. He looks like he's got a knife hidden in his poop chute. You know what I mean? He's not the type of person you want to shake hands with.
he seemed polite and friendly. Everyone who knew him was completely oblivious to the twisted hobby he had taken up. Oblivious, that is, until the crossbow cannibal made one fatal mistake, which was captured by the camera in his apartment corridor. A stupid mistake, really, but one we can all be thankful he made, especially after looking at the images that were captured on the night of his final kill. Here we see Griffiths, the crossbow cannibal, outside his block of flats with a woman called Susan Blamars. The 2 of them are chatting casually. To any onlookers, nothing would have seemed out of the ordinary. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary to Susan either. The pair enter the building and continue to talk in the elevator. Griffiths appears tense in the footage, but tries to play things cool. Susan still doesn't sense that anything's wrong. They reach his floor, and Susan follows him into his apartment. A decision that's about to cost her life. A mere 2.5 minutes after entering, Susan frantically bursts back through the door, running for her life. Griffiths is in hot pursuit. You can just about make out the crossbow in his hands. He grabs her. If you've ever wondered what the face of a man ready to kill looks like, that's it. Seconds later, he shoots Susan in the head with a crossbow bolt. The crossbow cannibal's third victim is dead.
Oh.
The thrill of the hunt passes, and Griffiths retires to his flat.
What the fuck? Bro. Somebody watched a little too much Robin Hood Men in Tights when they was growing up. There's something wrong with it. What the hell?
Dragging his victim's lifeless body inside with him. 20 minutes later, he returns to the hallway, brandishing his beloved weapon. He taunts his audience, sticking his middle finger up at the camera. Arrogant, remorseless, psychopathic. He no longer appears to care whether he's captured or not. In the past, Griffiths had been able.
I want to put his finger on the end of one of them bolts and shoot it straight into his hiney hole.
To kill his victims before they even had a chance to flee. Susan might not have been able to save her own life, but by forcing Griffiths to kill her on camera, she ensured that his rampage was now over.
That's sad,
the block
but
managers
smart.
themselves suspected that Griffiths was up to no good. And that's why they had the cameras installed in the first place, to keep an eye on him.
Oh.
Well, their actions solved the case, and once they checked the footage, they were able to inform the police immediately. Griffiths was in cuffs within the hour. Susan's body was found dumped in a nearby lake, along with his.
That's hilarious, though, man. Those people thought he was shifty as shit, so they put cameras everywhere just to catch him up. It's probably not thinking he was that shifty, though. Oh, fuck. That'd be awful. It's like, oh no, we're going to catch him up and something. Oh my god, he fucking kills people. Oh god. Oh, that's not something you want to see on your Ring TV, huh?
Second victims, whose body had been chopped into 81 pieces. Yeah, 81. Her head was fished out. The features had been removed.
What the fuck?
His first victim's corpse has still never been found to this day, in pieces or otherwise. At his trial, Griffiths introduced himself as the crossbow cannibal and confessed that he had indeed murdered the 3 women. He then described how he dismembered them in his bathtub and cooked and ate parts of their bodies. Finally, he told the court how he took the remaining chunks he didn't want to eat, bagged them up, and chucked them into the lake. It was also revealed that he had been harassing his ex-girlfriend over the phone.
Is he proud of all this? Seriously? Like, it doesn't sound like he's remorseful in any way, shape, or form. It's literally sounding kind of like he's boasting himself, kind of bragging. He's a fucked up individual, y'all. I no, ain't it normally like, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Like, killing her was an accident. She fell on the knife. Type situation. How you gonna go there? I'm the crossbow cannibal, and I did it. I did it. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Threatening her and laughing maniacally.
I'm not gonna go away, so I guess you'd better.
It sounded like he was trying out for like a Batman video game to be the Joker. That was a really damn good laugh. Oh god. I love it. He's horrible. He's a piece of shit. I'm not laughing over. He's dumb. He's big dumb.
As it stands, Griffiths has only been conclusively connected with 3 murders, but he's suspected of killing at least 5 others as well.
Oh, good lord.
The only person he's tried to kill
So 8 altogether?
since being arrested is himself.
9?
He's had little success with that, having failed multiple times. He'll remain in prison
Then maybe he didn't kill the other people. He doesn't sound like he's all that good at it. Maybe he ain't hungry enough.
for the rest of his life, and the streets are safer for it.
Yes.
The part I find most chilling about these images is how he just goes from normal and friendly to psychopathic. He becomes a rage-filled murderer within an instant. Seeing him talk casually to this woman, knowing full well that he plans on killing her within moments, it's truly disturbing. I've left a link to a news story about the case down in the description. It shows parts of the footage and discusses the case a little more. Feel free to check it out.
Okay. They sound pretty fucked up.
Number 2. Well, it wouldn't be a Lazy Masquerade
Suitcase
mystery
Buddy.
video if we didn't have at least a few more creepy doe reconstructions. Those artist depictions of unidentified bodies. Oh, I just love digging deep into the uncanny valley. A lot of people wonder why the reconstruction artists make their subjects look so inhuman. I mean, surely they'd want to make them look as close as how they looked in reality as possible, right?
Oh, that poor lady.
Actually, the opposite is true. By making the images too realistic, they run the risk of making...
Whoa. That was weird. It's like her face was almost shifty without being shifty. Like, it seems blurry and like strangely out of focus without being blurry and strangely out of focus. And the eyes follow, bro. What the fuck? I don't like that.
By making the images too realistic, they run the risk of making the victim look like any other generic person.
No.
If the picture they create could literally be anyone, then it wouldn't stay fresh in people's minds, or might not catch the attention of someone who actually knew the victim. Instead, the police intentionally accentuate certain distinguishing features about the dead person. For example, this woman. From her body, the police could tell that she had a very crooked neck. Sure, it's very creepy, but it stays in your head and makes you think if you know anyone who had a crooked neck. In this way, the images are more likely to ring a few bells.
I don't like that.
When the police released this image of a Jane Doe in 2012, you might have thought it was unlikely anyone would have recognized the woman. It's barely
Looks like-
recognizable as human to...
Looks like a fucking potato with teeth. Looks like a dog penis or a horse penis hanging off its head. I would remember if I ever see a lady with a horse penis on her head. I'd be like, hey, that's horse penis lady. I know her. I've seen her at, the Super K or something. Yeah.
begin with. Looks more like something you'd see in a particularly creepy episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
She was known only as Suitcase Body. Police had found the half-decomposed corpse of a young woman stuffed into a suitcase along a Wisconsin highway. Judging from how decomposed she was, she must have been dead for at least a year. They had absolutely no leads, nor any idea of who she was. What they did know was that she had a very chipmunk-like face. So
Yeah.
that's what they asked their artist to highlight in this reconstruction.
Make them
Their
bones
hope
pop.
was that it might help solve the mystery of who she was, and, in turn, reveal
Did
who
it?
left her in the suitcase.
Did it?
Amazingly, this creepy image served its purpose.
Are you
The
serious?
Jane Doe, known only as Suitcase.
So someone out there in the world is like, I've seen that face before. I have had that same exact reaction once before. I know exactly who the hell that is.
His body was actually 19-year-old Jenny Gamez from Cottage Grove, Oregon.
That don't look nothing like the picture.
You might not see the likeness. I know I couldn't. But the reconstruction was
Oh, I get it. I see it. Perfect. Perfect. Simply. Oh shit, I actually kind of do. Looking at like, okay. Yeah. I mean, other than the nose and, the teeth being slightly, I can see similar features in whatever that is. Look different, but I can see the features like how the bone swoops up and comes down towards the nose, like this on both sides. Chin cuts in, but hers is a little bit more boxed than this one over here. But yet, this one over here kind of looks boxed enough to where it'd be passable. The nose is about the only thing that is just no. Like even the curvature of this eye right here, you can see it right there. Okay. Um, it's like one of those puzzle things where you look at like all these different hexagon shapes and shit, like you're looking through a damn kaleidoscope, and somehow you see a pink giraffe with purple unicorns flying out of its butt. I don't know. I've never seen nothing.
enough to draw the attention of Jenny's foster mother, Lorraine. She hadn't heard from Jenny in a good long while. Jenny had moved away, but it still seemed strange that she had cut off all contact. Police checked Jenny's dental records, which confirmed that the body in the suitcase was indeed hers. Over a
Damn.
year after her murder, Suitcase Body had finally reclaimed her identity.
Oh yeah.
Sadly, Jenny wasn't her killer's only victim. On the same stretch of highway, another suitcase was found, this one containing another woman's body. This victim's identity wasn't so hard to trace. She was Laura Simonson, a 37-year-old from Farmington, Minnesota. So who was responsible for all of this? Well, it took them a while to crack the case, but eventually the police were led to the home of the killer. Stephen Zelich.
Did he leave like his address and name and all that shit on the inside of his suitcase once? That'd be hilarious. Please tell me that's what happened.
An ex-cop. While an officer in West Allis, he abused his powers by stalking women in the area and gaining access to their personal information.
Damn.
He resigned in 2001 to avoid disciplinary action.
That's a bad
That
dude.
way, he could still go on to become a private security officer. He met both Jenny and Laura in online BDSM chat rooms under the username Mr. Handcuffs. On separate occasions, he convinced both of them to meet him in his hotel room. Then, they engaged in what Zelich called breath play, a dangerous sex game involving strangulation. The girls were bound and gagged, with a rope tied around their necks. He then pulled on the rope to asphyxiate them, something that gave him a sense of erotic satisfaction. Both women died so that this guy could get off. He then kept their bodies hidden in his refrigerator for months, and then eventually dumped them.
Oh.
In court, he claimed that both of their deaths had been accidental. Right, because if you accidentally killed someone in this way, you'd dump their body off in a suitcase and do it all over again. The jurors saw through this poor attempt at avoiding responsibility. He was found guilty of their murders and will remain in prison until the day he dies.
Hell yeah.
Number 3.
Slave master.
Another case of an online predator now. This was actually an urban legend that circulated around the Kansas City area. Amazingly, it turned out to be completely true. It was the mid-90s,
What?
when the internet was still relatively new. A lot of people had heard about a guy named Slave Master.
I remember that.
He had apparently been hanging around in online chat rooms, seducing women and luring them to their deaths. Little
What?
did everyone realize that the Slave Master rumors were more than just hogwash. Over the course of the decade, numerous women who browsed social networking sites in the area had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The one thing that linked them all together was that they'd all been in contact with Slave Master prior to vanishing. His first online victim, Sheila Faith, believed that Slave Master was a wealthy businessman and philanthropist. Apparently, he had offered to pay for her daughter's spina bifida medical expenses. The mother and daughter moved out to Kansas City to take him up on his offer.
Spina bifida? Is that what he said? Oh, that's shitty.
Shortly
So,
after arriving,
I don't know why I pushed the button. So, he gave this poor lady hope and then murdered her. Hope for her kid, and then, oh, dude's a piece of shit.
the pair of them disappeared. For the next 7 years, the elusive Slave Master cashed in Sheila's pension checks. Then came the turn of the Polish immigrant, Izabela Lewinka. Slave Master convinced the 21-year-old that he was going to marry her. Instead, he got her to sign a 115-item slave contract, giving him complete control over most aspects of her life, including her bank accounts. Not long after signing this agreement, Isabella also vanished into thin air. Slave Master told his real-life friends that she'd been caught smoking marijuana and had consequently been deported. Finally, he met a woman called Suzette Troughton on a BDSM site.
I mean, it could happen, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I think he's like, I think he murdered. I think he murderer. I think he's a cannibal. I think he's a murdering cannibal. I have no clue what he is.
She had agreed to travel the world with Slave Master as his submissive slave. What makes people want to do things like this? I have no idea. But whatever the reason, Suzette suffered the same fate as her predecessors. Slave Master then sent letters to her mother, pretending to be Suzette, saying how well the trip was going. So, what had Slave Master been doing with all of these women? Well, unfortunately for him, the world was soon going to find out. He had become cocky and complacent, and failed to effectively cover his tracks. He was developing quite the reputation online, and his online alias was being linked to more and more suspicious activity. Eventually, it led
Everything caught up with him in the end, huh? Oh, fuck yeah.
police right to Slave Master's front door. Still, they needed a warrant to search the place. It just
You smell that? It's a baby crying. There's plenty of excuses to bust down that door and shoot him in the face.
so turns out that a woman suspected the occupant of stealing some of her sex toys. Perfect. That gave the police the excuse they needed. The house belonged to a man called John Edward Robinson. In his house, they found the decaying bodies of Isabella and Suzette, stuffed into 85-pound chemical drums. They had died from blunt force trauma to the back of the head.
What the hell?
In acid-filled drums in a nearby storage facility, they found the bodies of Sheila, Sheila's daughter, Debbie, and another woman identified as Beverly Bonner. You see, before discovering the internet, Robinson had already started his killing spree. In the case of Beverly, he had convinced her to leave her husband and come and work for him in Kansas. Once Robinson had arranged for her alimony checks to be sent to his address, Beverly's family never heard from her again. It was all to do with money. Perhaps the most chilling thing he did, however, was gain the trust of a young mother called Lisa Stasi, who he had met at a battered woman's refuge. As you can imagine, Lisa met the same fate as Robinson's other victims. However, Robinson knew that his brother and sister-in-law were having trouble trying to adopt a baby. He told them that he knew a child whose mother had just committed suicide. He sent them some forged adoption papers, charged them $5,500, and handed them the 4-month-old baby of the woman he had just killed no more than 3 days earlier. Lisa's body was never discovered. Robinson is believed to be linked to the disappearance of even more women, though none of their bodies have ever been found either. Perhaps he dissolved them in the chemical drums. Regardless, Slave Master was found guilty of his crime.
He looks like a fucking banker. Like the dude you're gonna bitch at whenever something happens with your account. He's that dude. What the fuck?
Crimes, and remains on death row to this day.
Really?
He is regarded as the internet's first serial killer.
I guess there's always gotta be that first somewhere, huh?
Number 4.
Oh, Mike. Who's Mike?
It's everyone's worst nightmare. You come home by yourself from a long day at work and enter your dark, empty house. Only, it's not as empty as you were expecting.
Is it as dark as I was expecting? Cause, I mean, that would make sense. Because if it's brighter than what I'm expecting, then maybe there's someone in my house. But maybe I know them.
On the night of September 6th, 2006, Susan Kuhnhausen got back from her long shift at the hospital, walked through her front door, and into her bedroom. Strange, she thought. The room isn't usually this dark. Wait, did I forget to open the curtains this morning? From behind the door, a man appeared. A man she had never seen or spoken to before.
Oh shit.
His name's Edward Dalton Haffey, and he's holding a black claw hammer. What this guy didn't realize was that Susan Kuhnhausen was a badass. Fight or flight immediately kicks in. She had seen and dealt with a lot of shit as a nurse, so her instinct wasn't to run. On top of that,
It was to whoop that ass, bruh. You're gonna be glad she is a nurse by the time she's fucking done with you, homie. Oh, I love it.
had been trained in self-defense and knew that crowding the guy
She knows Krav Maga.
would lessen the impact of his hammer swings. So, she gets close. Wham! The hammer strikes her in the left temple, but the would-be killer can't generate enough force to take her down. She's dazed and bloody, but getting close had worked. Susan knows that she's fighting for her life at this point. Anyone that aims for the head with a hammer is aiming to kill. She tries to reason with him, but Haffey won't listen. He's hellbent on taking her out. Now
Do they
she
know each
tries
other?
to use her superior weight to knock him down, but he manages to push her away. "You're strong," he says, the only words he uttered the whole encounter. It's then that Susan
You're strong. What the fuck?
managed to wrestle the hammer out of her assailant's hands.
Oh yeah.
She takes it and slams it into his head several times in quick succession. Haffey goes down, but he manages to grab the hammer back.
Oh fuck.
That's when Susan grabbed him by the throat and began strangling him. His
Damn.
face turns purple.
Susan's a beast.
Terrified, she makes for the exit. But Haffy isn't dead.
Oh, fuck.
Susan doesn't know it, but he's got a near-lethal amount of cocaine in his system. Nothing's gonna slow him down. He
Shoot him in
grabs
the
her as she
face.
tries to escape and punches her in the face twice, knocking her to the ground. As he stood over her, brandishing his claw hammer, Susan knew that she was as good as dead. But the fighter inside her triumphed. Susan chose a life over death. She somehow manages to get him on the ground with her and puts him in a chokehold. She screams at him, demanding to know why he was trying to kill her. "Tell me," she says.
Who sent you?
"Tell me, and I'll call you an ambulance." Eventually, his face turns purple again. This time, permanently. She had strangled Haffy to death.
Good.
An ambulance was called, and statements were taken. It was obvious that Susan had acted in self-defense. The question remained, however. Why had Haffy decided to kill Susan that evening?
Right.
As it turns out, the question that the police should have been focusing on was who had sent him. You see, Haffy was a hitman. He was paid $50,000 to sneak into Susan's house and beat her to death.
What?
When the police searched the crime scene, they didn't find anything that might reveal the identity of whoever hired Haffy. It wasn't until one of Susan's friends came over to her place and noticed an out-of-place backpack in her basement that the crime was finally solved. Inside the backpack was a container of Hershey's syrup, $200 in cash, diabetes pills, and a notebook containing a cell number. Next to it, Haffy had written, "Call Mike." Mike. That was Susan's husband. Her estranged husband, to be precise.
Oh.
The pair had been separated for a while at this point, and since their breakup, Mike hadn't been doing so well for himself. He'd lost his job at the local adult video store and had no place to live.
Poor guy.
But he and Susan were still technically married. If she were to suddenly catch a bad case of having her brains bashed in, he'd inherit the house. So he made
If she came down with a fat case of the happener. Oh.
a deal with Haffy, a former co-worker at the porno shack. Kill his so-called bitch of a wife, sell the house, and earn a sixth of the place's value, 50 large. Mike still had a spare key to Susan's, and knew all of the alarm codes. If all went well, there'd be nothing to link him to the crime. It was perfect. What
Yeah.
he didn't plan on, though, was his Vietnam vet hitman being killed by his former partner. Down at the station, he came up with a half-assed
Fucking badass, bro. He gonna beat your ass next, bro.
alibi, but the police weren't buying it. He got 7 years in jail, but died of cancer on Friday the 13th of June, 2014, only 92 days before he was due to be released.
Oh.
If this incident teaches us anything, it's
That-
that love can be a dangerous
That life always gets you in the end. That's great.
game, especially when you fall out of it and there's money on the line.
Yeah, see the
Thankfully,
fire?
Susan survived
That's what's happening right now. He's burning in hell.
her ordeal. "If you can't run and you can't hide, you have to fight," she said. "You
Yeah.
don't know that you won't survive."
Very true. Wise lady. Wise lady. Alright. That was a good one. I enjoyed it. And it was solved. I always like it when things have maybe not a happy ending, but an ending of sorts. Yeah. Alright. I really enjoyed today's video. If y'all enjoyed today's video, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, or deranged, think about subscribing. That's what we do. We have fun here. I have fun anyways. I don't know about anyone else, but I have fun. As always, Be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. I'm so glad they all had like some sort of closure. Well, most of the time when we hear these stories, they're everyone's just left with this big gaping, open, festering, messy hole. These ones, there was closure. No matter how fucked up it was, there was closure.